Impact of influence.
Covering true crime throughout the Southeast.
Hello, friend. So glad you're spending time with us. Grateful for that. I am Matt Harris. Seton Tucker is here. And if they want to join in the conversation,
You can find us on Facebook at Impact of Influence.
and we're still working on the YouTube channel. You'll find that easily navigated through the Facebook page. She just spoke of Impact of Influence. Also, we're part of the Evergreen podcast company, and we appreciate any input. Rate, share, and comment on the episodes, on whether it's on YouTube or whether it's on Spotify or Apple, and leave a comment, and we'll hopefully get back to you. Now, we've got some things to talk about. Back to Murdaugh. And remember, we're covering Murdaugh forever. This is day one of the double murders, and thought, hey, we get maybe a few months out of this. And here we are, a long way past it. The conviction of Alec Murdaugh, and still things are shaking either Alec Murdaugh's family or Alec Murdaugh adjacent. And what's the latest, Seton?
Well, 3 years later. Next month will be our 3-year.
Is that right?
I know. Can you imagine that we've been doing this for 3 years?
Gosh, and you haven't killed me. And
Sometimes I've wanted to, and you
you've
probably wanted to kill me too.
Well, we made it, and as we have spoken about before, we're going to continue to do episodes from other true crime throughout the Southeast, and so don't worry about that. We'll still be going to that, but we want to keep you updated on the Murdaugh stuff. That's why you came here in the first place. So what happened?
So there was a recent report that Alec Murdaugh's niece, Mary Elizabeth Murdaugh, she did a TED Talk, and in this TED Talk, she talks about being a victim of assault while she was a student in Columbia, South Carolina. Now, in this talk, she says that her uncle, Alec, got in a fight with her attacker in jail. So John Monk has done, with the State Paper, has done kind of a deep dive in this.
John's an amazing reporter, decades on the job, and a really nice guy.
And he says that Alec Murdaugh and this attacker were put in the same pod. And according to their source, quote, they were out in the open area together, and the guy comes in and tries to explain how Alec Murdaugh and his family and the family is framing him, and that's just how the start fighted.
Yeah, the both inmates, it says, were, quote, real banged up. Quote, the jail was somewhat chagrined they had them together. Yeah, you think? Not a great move.
Yeah, what were they trying that? I don't know for sure. I mean, this is just according to their source, but and they were never put back together again. So they also say in this article that the jail is understaffed, and Alec Murdaugh was used to break up fights because he's a big guy.
He is a big guy, yeah. And I mean, I don't know how the jail whole thing works there, the prison, I should say. But I would imagine they don't like people, if you're two guys fighting, with another inmate jumping in. But
I have FOIA'd this, but I haven't gotten a response back, so I'm fearful that I did something wrong. I may need you to look
FOIA
into
is a Freedom of Information Act, which she filed with the corrections.
Right, because I would like to see the incident reports, and if there's a video of this fight, I mean, we could see. Because in my mind, I question, is Alec Murdaugh a hero? I saw some people reached out to me personally and said, oh, good for him for, standing up to this attacker who was convicted of assaulting his niece. But we don't really know exactly how that fight went down. Did he really, was the fight instigated by Alec, or was it instigated by the attacker?
Right, and either way, just based on what we know now, you can't blame Alec Murdaugh if he runs into some, he's going to be in there for life probably anyway, and he runs into a dude who messed with his niece. I'd want to land a couple haymakers on him if I could.
But he could have just been defending himself if the guy just punched him. I mean, we just don't know, and that's why I would like to dive deeper into this and hopefully get some more information.
I just cannot. It doesn't surprise me, I guess, the way that South Carolina, and many other states, corrections are undermanned and understaffed and all that. That they would put them in the same pod is insanity.
Yeah, I agree that was probably not a good move, whether they knew that or was an oversight.
Because the victim's name is Murdaugh. It's not like it's hard to flush it out. But it's terrible what happened to her. And Alec got the better of the guy. We're not going to blame him, I don't think.
No, but the guy could have jumped him. I mean, who
knows?
knows? I mean, this guy also has had multiple other infractions since being incarcerated. I think he seems like he's definitely has maybe some mental health struggles.
He may indeed, but so there you go. What else would you like to talk about in this ep?
Okay, so the egg juror is writing a book, which, of course, and I am actually very interested in reading this. And so she's teamed up with Cask and Crime, who has already written a book called Defending Alec Murdaugh, Not Guilty by Reasonable Doubt.
He has a timeline thing that he does, and he's kind of a controversial.
He's controversial because
TikToker and
he believes that
Instagrammer.
it was not that Alec Murdaugh should not been found guilty because of reasonable doubt. It seems like possibly the egg juror is in the same camp. I reached out to Cask and Crime, and he says that he will give us an interview once the book comes out. It's been a little bit delayed because I think they're in negotiations with some people about maybe some possible other interviews. But on their Facebook page, there is an excerpt from chapter 14. So
What is the Facebook page? Is it her? I mean, theirs?
It's the title of their book,
Oh,
which
okay,
is
okay.
oh my gosh, I don't have it right in front of me. I think
That's
it's
okay. I threw it up against you last
yeah.
minute.
I'm gonna look it up.
Okay, well, let me tell you this, just a quick refresher. Egg juror, they call her that. She was on the jury in the Alec Murdaugh double murder trial till right about the end when, you can go back and listen to some of the episodes, but a bunch of things happened where either rightly or wrongly, she was kicked off of the jury for talking about the case. That's the basis of it. And they called her the egg juror because when Judge Newman kicked her out, she's like, "Can I get my eggs?" Because she apparently had some eggs back in the jury room, and so she went and got the eggs, and she was out of there. So that's thus the name, the egg juror.
Okay, I found it. So their book is called "Because Enough Is Enough" by Juror 785. Because that was her juror number. Possibly she prefers to go by Juror 785 instead of egg juror. I could possibly see why that's the case. But anyway, they're on their Facebook page, which is the same name. There is an excerpt from chapter 14. Would you like to read that?
Sure. It goes, "I've had trauma in my life, and people expect you to remember it as if it just happened. You don't. And Alec seemed generally confused about the times, not because he was lying, but because he was confused. 20 minutes to drive to his mom's, 20 minutes or so at his mom's, 20-minute drive back. I could see how the time, an hour to an hour and a half at his mom's would be something he'd say. If someone were to ask me how long I was at Walmart and it took me 2 hours round trip, my answer would be 2 hours or so. Not that I was in the store for an hour and it took 30 minutes there and 30 minutes back." So, I mean, that's not Alec Murdaugh's biggest issue, though, is a little bit of a time frame issue there. That even if he had nailed that exact time, that wouldn't.
Well, that was one thing that the prosecution brought up, and I think that is a good point. I don't think I really am curious what they have to say about the video that places Alec Murdaugh at the crime scene shortly before the deaths of Maggie and Paul.
That's the key.
That's the key. And I know that Cask and Crime has done some analysis about, some tests about how it's possible with the cell phones. I would like to, we're an open platform. I'd like to hear from him.
I would be. She's also interested in what was, at least according to her, she's writing the book, so she's got to sell books, so take it at face value. But is she going to say anything about how the jury interacted, or were there things said, like at the beginning, where people like, guilty, or something like that? It seems like she was the only one, or maybe one other one, she was definitely leaning not guilty. That's obvious now, yeah.
Yeah. But it'd just be interesting to kind of get a behind the scenes perspective of a juror. I think there's another juror who's potentially writing a book, who was in the opposite camp.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't imagine them selling a lot of books, but you never know.
I think so.
Maybe,
I
yeah.
I really am interested to read it, and I think there are a lot of people out there who have questions, because I think
That's true.
we still don't fully know exactly what happened that night. I think, most people think the jury got it right, but there's also questions.
Right, and will there be controversy about why? I'm sure she'll give her side of why she was kicked off,
Yeah, no,
which is pretty important.
I think that is too, and I'm really curious to hear from that perspective of exactly what happened.
What else is? Oh, there's been some activity in another case, right?
Yeah, Becky Hill. Becky Hill, who was the Colleton County Clerk of Court during the Alec Murdaugh trial, she subsequently resigned amongst some pretty serious allegations, and now we've received an ethics report where she has 76 ethics violations, and there's a hearing scheduled in front of the South Carolina State's Ethics Commission for December 19th of 2024, and at 9:30. So apparently this is a public thing, so people from the public can attend this.
That's a lot of violations. That doesn't mean, again, she's not been convicted of any of them. These are violations that will be seen through.
Right, they're just allegations at this point. But they include that she shared that confidential photograph of an inmate in the cell, which was used to promote the sale of her book, and that she filmed a promotional video in the courthouse.
The inmate we're referring to is Alec
Alec
Murdaugh.
Murdaugh, right.
It was part of the book that was written with Becky Hill.
Right, but that she also...
It wasn't in the book. I should straighten that out.
It was not in the book,
It
but
was
I
on the
think it was
promotion,
in some promotion
like a Facebook
for
thing
the
or
book.
something. Yeah.
I think when we interviewed Neil, I think he was the one who put that out there.
Yeah.
But so that's coming back to the forefront to see what exactly happened with that picture, but that also that she used the courthouse to promote the sales of her book in a promotional video. There's this $100 check situation that comes back up that she wrote someone when they were on a tour of the courthouse wrote a $100 check, and she replaced her name on the check, and then she deposited it into her own personal account.
So it was basically using that position for financial gain. Then there was this diverting of DSS child support incentive funds to give herself bonuses. She reimbursed herself for drinks, snacks, gifts for employees, office decor, birthday gifts, meals for family members. What is she facing? Just fines?
Well, she could face fines depending on, I think it's maybe like a $2,000 fine if it's civil, but if it rises to the level of criminal, the fine goes up. But this is not mutually exclusive. I had an actual listener question wondering if, this seems like, maybe she gets a couple $1,000 fine or a year in jail. It seems maybe not that stiff for some of these things that she's been accused of. But I think the AG's office could still prosecute her. These two things are not mutually exclusive.
Yeah, because the AG will do like a legal prosecution. The ethics would be something like you are no longer allowed to be clerk of court or something like that, but she already quit. So
she already quit. Actually, I think the election is coming up.
And she's not running.
And she is not running. There were just a lot of things. They talked about gifts from media that she potentially accepted. They said that Netflix was given access to the courtroom and that they were possibly received unredacted body cam videos from Becky. But I think she actually admitted that. So
we were given access, but not us personally.
Oh, we didn't go after hours or anything like that.
No, we went with who were we with? Was it Hulu? Who were we with? I don't even remember. We were in the courthouse.
Prior to the hearing.
Long time
But
before,
I think that they paid Colleton County to rent that courthouse.
Probably. Yeah. So that was long before that and all that. So
Right.
Okay. So that is that, and we're going to have more on the Beach Estate against Parkers at some point too.
Yes.
Coming up. And you also have a review.
Yes, please read this review because it is possibly like one of my favorite reviews we've
can't
ever
wait.
gotten. So read it.
Okay. I started this podcast in 2024 after it was all over. I was annoyed, with a real lack of substance to start. Lack of substance, okay. But somewhere in there, the show started bringing in experts like 911 operators, lawyers, bankers.
I don't know what Phoebe's means.
Phoebe's FBIers or something.
Yeah. Yes.
Anyway, and the podcast blossomed. Where else would you hear a linguist discuss the origins of Creole?
Which is one of my favorite episodes. I mean, thinking back of all of our last 3 years of episodes, that linguist was one of my absolute favorites.
That's great. or the fellow that talked about how hunters casually hold long guns.
That was a really good expert too.
The hosts became old friends. I look forward to seeing over and over. So far, I'm on episode 74, and I'm not only not bored, I'm actually upset that I only have about 120 left. Woo! The fact that the jury has spoken doesn't change the drama, which is expertly unpacked. I know I have a ways to go, but what happened to all that money?
Okay, this listener may be disappointed.
Yeah, I'm sure someone as confident as Murdaugh thinks he's going to get out the money. We'll be waiting. When he gets out the money, we'll be waiting for him. Drug addiction was excuse du jour. All that money, all that money, all that money. Great job. Hey, guys, get another murder started so you can start all over.
Well, we are doing that.
No, we're not starting a murder. No.
No, I mean, we're not starting a murder, but we are looking into other cases. I feel like we have a whole long list, and we're getting to them.
We've done the Susan Smith with Tommy Pope, who prosecuted that. And I've got coming up an episode with Tommy Pope about this guy in Rock Hill, South Carolina, from a well-to-do family. He killed his mom and dad, and then his girlfriend was involved, and it's a really gruesome yet intriguing case, and I'll do that coming up.
I know. I'm very sorry that you've scheduled this interview when I will be out of town on vacation.
How dare you take a vacation?
I know, because Tommy Pope was also another fantastic guest, one of my favorite people to interview. He's so interesting.
Yes, we've got a lot more where that came from. Again, very grateful that you spent any time with us, let alone 100 and whatever episodes she's been into, or he. And Evergreen Podcast, that's who does the moving and shaking on this. You can get the YouTube channel through the Facebook page, Impact of Influence. And we will talk soon, friend.